Tyrone Bowman Live. Welcome to the program. On today, I'll be talking about several things throughout the course of the program on today, and we're just getting started here. But the topic for today, I'm going to be talking about how the Jamaican government is requesting King Charles to fight for slavery reparations. Jamaica gained its independence, if I'm not mistaken, in 1964. Let me fact check that before I start talking. I'm a factual person, so I'd rather deal with facts than to deal with misnomers. Many times when individuals are talking, they don't have the facts to back up what they say. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here on my iPad real quick and find out when did Jamaica gain her independence, or its independence, I should say. Let's go to Google. And then we'll have this conversation. All right, pop right up. See, I'm glad I fact checked it. All right, according to Wikipedia, the colony of Jamaica gained independence from the United Kingdom on the 6th of August in 1962. In Jamaica, this date is celebrated as Independence Day. It's their national holiday. So here's the history up to the point of independence in Jamaica before I start reading this article from Reuters. The Caribbean island known as Jamaica was settled first by hunter-gatherers from the Yucatan, and then by two waves of Taino people from South America. Chinoan explorer Christopher Columbus arrived in Jamaica in 1494, according to Wikipedia, during his second voyage to the New World and claimed it for the Crown of Castile. At this time, 200 villages existed in Jamaica, largely located on the south coast and ruled by chiefs of villages. The Spanish Empire began its official rule in Jamaica in 1509, with formal occupation of the island by conquistador Juan de Esquivel and his men. The Spaniards enslaved many of the native people or Jamaicans, overworking and harming them to the point that many perished within 50 years of European arrival. Subsequently, the Spanish Empire's continuing need for labor was no longer filled by the capacity of the surviving indigenous population. Spanish colonists adopted by turning to the trade of enslaved Africans. Disappointed by the lack of gold on the island, that's probably what they were looking for, gold, the Spanish mainly used Jamaica as a military base to supply colonizing efforts in the mainland Americas. After 146 years of Spanish rule, a large group of British soldiers, sailors and soldiers landed in the Kingston Harbor on the 10th of May of 1655. During the Anglo-Spanish War, the English, who set their sights on Jamaica after a disastrous defeat in an earlier attempt to take the island of Hispaniola, marched toward Villa de la Vega, the administrative center of the island. Spanish forces surrendered without much fight on the 11th of May, many of them fleeing to Spanish Cuba or the northern portion of the island. So the reason why I'm going down this road, because I'm talking about Jamaica requesting King Charles to fight for reparations. So British colonial jurisdiction over the island was quickly established with the newly renamed Spanish town, named the capital and home of the local House of Assembly, Jamaica's directly elected legislature. Now, I don't want to go too deep into it. So that's sort of the background. And according to Reuters, Jamaica will ask King Charles to request legal advice from the London-based Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, the final court of appeal for UK overseas territories and some Commonwealth nations on the issue of slavery reparations, under the Judicial Committee Act of 1833. Charles remains Jamaica's head of state after the colony gained independence from Britain in 1962, has the authority to refer matters to the Council for consideration. Hundreds of thousands of enslaved Africans were shipped to Jamaica, and many scholars and advocates say the legacy of that period has resulted or played a role in today's inequities. Now, reparations is nothing new. Here in America, they had the Japanese internment camps. Oh, yes, they did. America paid them reparations. After the Vietnam War ended, America had to rebuild Vietnam. That's called reparations. So, the Jamaican government, by King Charles still being officially the head of state of Jamaica, even after they gained their independence in 1962, they are appealing to him to fight for reparations. And I've talked to a lot of people who have visited Jamaica. I have a lot of friends who are from Jamaica, and they tell me that the only biggest economic factor is tourist attraction. Tourism. That's the number one primary economic hub that drives the economy of Jamaica. Widespread poverty is an everyday thing throughout the colony of Jamaica. Without tourism, a lot of Jamaicans wouldn't even have work. And this is a stipulated fact. A lot of them have migrated from Jamaica to America many years ago. So calls for reparations are long-standing, and moves such as the appeal to King Charles to keep the topic in the public spotlight. A backlash against it has also been growing, and many of Europe's leaders have opposed even talking about it. Of course they've opposed talking about it. To admit wrongdoing, to pay for what you did to a people that are mainly of African descent. Here in America, they were even talking about paying the white Afrikaners who came over here under the guise as refugees reparations. Jamaica's culture minister, Olivia Grain, said her government was seeking the council to consider whether the forced transport of enslaved Africans to Jamaica and the subsequent enslavement was lawful, and if it constituted a crime against humanity. That's what reparations is all about. It is also calling on the council. Okay, let me insert this. Do you not know right now the Senate is considering paying the rioters who caused the riot on the 6th of January reparations after they have received full and unconditional pardons? Some people think this is a joke. This is not a joke. This is real. That's why individuals should never underestimate their enemy, because many true things have been said by the way of a joke. It is also calling on the council to examine whether Britain is, quote, under an obligation to provide a remedy, end quote, to Jamaica, not only for slavery, but also for its enduring consequences. After Jamaica received its independence, in 1962, and I'm going to find that video. The video is out there, and I'm going to look for it. Where then Queen Elizabeth, they set up a throne and everything else, and they all came and bowed down to her. What? It's a fact. It happened. And whether they receive reparations or not, that's another question. But it's just a topic of conversation. Quote, we will be submitting a petition to His Majesty, King Charles III, to refer the Privy Council a set of questions that we want answered within his current position as head of state of Jamaica, end quote. Grain said in the Jamaican Parliament on Tuesday. Nicole Diggle, an expert in Privy Council appeals at London law firm Blake Morgan, said the monarch could refer any matter to the council. Lower courts in countries such as Jamaica, where the council is the final court of appeal, can also refer cases. However, it may decide the matter is unsuitable for its opinion. Even in the court of law, when you hear the judge say restitution, if a person has been convicted, they've been sentenced, they say, well, they will make restitution to the court on behalf of the victims. In other words, you will pay reparations to the victim, and then the court will get the money and send it to them. So it goes on every day. You know, we need to learn how to have civil, intelligent conversations without cussing each other out all the time. It doesn't hurt to listen. It doesn't hurt to dialogue. We can have differences of opinions. We can agree to listen. We can be disagreeable, and we agree to be disagreeable, still respecting everybody's right to his or her own opinion about a subject matter and the topic. So, the legal weight of the council's recommendation can vary. They could either be treated as a court judgment or non-enforceable legal opinions. King Charles expressed deep sorrow over slavery in a speech to the Commonwealth leaders in 2022. All right? Kudos to King Charles for even going that far, because most heads of state and leaders won't even admit any wrongdoing. But Britain, like other former colonial powers, has so far rejected demands for reparations. So the petition comes after Jamaica's government presented a bill in December last year to ditch the king as head of state. Well, that's not going to happen. King Charles will remain the head of state officially for Jamaica. And I have studied King Charles' life very, very closely, and he's somebody I never disliked him. Never. You know, you can dislike a system and not dislike people, because some people are born into whatever they're born into. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back with more Jamaican news in the next video. Let's go to the comments section as I always do. Thunder said hi. Hey, what's happening? How you doing? Garner Josiah. Okay, what's up? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I'll be back real soon. Never surrender. Never quit.